So we're here in Spain with the new Polestar 3, and this, although it might not look much like it on the outside, is actually a sister car to the big towering monolithic Volvo EX90. That is a big 7-seat family-friendly electric SUV. This is a big 5-seat family-friendly electric SUV. And no, Polestar won't do a 7-seat version, and I'll show you why in just a minute. But we need to talk about the front end of this car, because obviously there are some familiar Polestar cues here, such as these arrowhead lights, such as this logo on the front, but we've got some new touches going on. We've got this intelligent panel here, behind which you'll find forward-facing radar sensors for the various safety systems. There's a camera there too, and this, although it's not featured on the lower, sleeker, slightly newer Polestar 4, this is going to become a regular design touch for Polestar models in the future. But there's one other really nice design touch at the front that I want to show you, which is this, the front wing, because this is actually properly open. You can get your hand in both ends of this and touch your fingertips. And we are told, because apparently all of Polestar's design is follows function, that this does work. This actually directs air up and over the windscreen, along the roof and down to the rear spoiler. This does help improve the 3's aerodynamic efficiency. And that aerodynamic efficiency must be pretty good, because with a 107 kilowatt hour net battery, this boasts a range of up to 630 kilometers on a full charge. Now, this particular one, being the Performance Edition with 517 horsepower, 27 horsepower up on the regular 2-motor version, won't do that. It'll do more like about 560 kilometers. But if you get that regular version, you are looking at a 600 plus range, and there will be an even longer range, 660 kilometer, there or thereabouts, single motor version that'll come next year. There are some other nice design touches on here. This being the performance version, you've got the gold-coloured Brembo brakes and the little touch of gold here on the tyre caps as well. And if you look down the side, you'll see what I mean about how this could never be a 7-seater. Polestar's whole idea was to create an SUV that doesn't have a big towering roofline. So they've brought down the roof, they've shuffled the seats back, they've created interior space by having the seats low and laid back, and they've brought all this down. It's actually quite a sharp drop away when you come around here and get into this big rear spoiler that I mentioned. There is still a very good boot, but the idea is to create something that's aerodynamic, something that's slippery. And look at this. I couldn't do that with the Volvo EX90. I mean, I'm reasonably tall, but the EX90's roof is quite a reach for me. But we need to take a look at the interior before we go for a drive and see if Polestar's design translates as well to the inside of this 3 as it does to some of its other models. So here on the inside of the 3, you will find some commonalities with that Volvo EX90. And it's not like Polestar's hiding away from that as such, but you might want to be aware of it. So you've got very similar driver's display behind the wheel, which is really good to have. So much better than having everything on the big screen. There is a big screen. It is a vertical layout, and it's quite well laid out. I think like a lot of screens where all the buttons have been taken away, you can still find yourself having to hunt around a bit too much to get to some of the menu items. There are shortcut buttons here down on the bottom, and your air conditioning controls are always on the screen. That does help a bit. There's one physical tactile button, which is this, which controls your stereo volume, your play, pause, and your track skip, and so on. And that is quite nice, and it does feel good. Space is really, really good, and there's loads and loads of storage. There's a big storage box here, there's cup holders under here, and there's a huge space down here under the console. You could fit a small backpack or a large handbag under there. The big door bins too, and the whole idea of the interior is that the designers have told us they've tried to take away as much volume as possible. They've tried to pare things back, but without making it feel so minimalist that it's too plain. And I think they've generally been very successful with that, but there are a couple of issues, such as this wood trim here on the dashboard, which is, you tap it with your finger, it sounds a bit cheap. That's not great in a car that costs 99,000 euro. And the other thing is this low roof, which I do like and admire, and I would much rather have a car with a lower roof than a big, tall, chunky SUV. But you will find that if you're a taller driver, this header rail here does feel a bit close down to the top of your head. I mean, there is actually very good headroom, as you can see, but it's a visual thing, and it's just where it comes down to that point that, you know, maybe gets into your peripheral vision a little bit. But generally speaking, overall quality is very nice. The seats, as you'd expect, are extremely comfortable. The steering wheel in particular feels good to hold and to use. It's got a lovely, quite slim rim on it, which is increasingly rare in the car world, unfortunately, but it does feel very good to hold. But this is a family SUV, albeit a well-heeled family SUV, so what's it like in the back? Here in the back of the Polestar 3, even with that low roofline, as you can see, there's plenty of headroom for me, and I'm a big guy. That seat is set for me, and I've got tons and tons of legroom. There's nice seat back pockets. There's more big door bins, and the seat itself is really, really comfortable. You can feel that it's set back at a relatively relaxed recline, although it's a bit of a shame it doesn't have the electric reclining seats that will be coming in a little while in the new Polestar 4. That's a bit of a misstep, I feel. But again, you've got this big glass roof, and even though it is a low roof line, there's plenty of light coming in from the windows. There's a reasonably good view out. This is quite a high shoulder line, so kids back here might feel that they can't see out quite so well, but it shouldn't be too bad. And the light interior colours help in that respect, because it does brighten up everything back here. And best of all, our car here even comes with some extra cushions, so you will genuinely be comfortable on a long journey in this. It is a very practical car. It may not have 7 seats, but that's a 597 litre boot behind me, so you will be able to fit pretty much anything you need to in. So big, comfortable, practical, spacious, but what's the Polestar 3 like to drive? So the big difference in the Polestar 3 compared to the rest of the current Polestar lineup is that it comes as standard with air suspension. And that has a bit of a massive benefit, because Polestars in general tend to be quite stiffly sprung. Now this is no different. If you activate the suspension into its firmest setting, you will feel every ripple and bump on a bad road. But if you've got it in one of the more comfortable settings, it gets an awful lot better and smoother. I mean, we're driving on quite a nice piece of road at the moment. It's not the most perfect, but you can feel that this is soaking up whatever is there. It's doing a really nice job of making life more comfortable. And you can probably hear as well how quietly I'm speaking. This is a very, very refined car. Very little tyre noise, very little wind noise. All that attention paid to aerodynamics has clearly paid off. So that slim rim steering wheel that I spoke about a moment ago, that feels really, really good to hold. And it does have, this Polestar 3, it does have very quick steering, very, very nicely weighted, quite light, good bit of feel and feedback coming through. But on quicker corners, you can feel a reluctance for the nose to turn in. And that's in spite of the clever clutch pack that sits between the rear wheels that allows for some very, very effective torque vectoring between those rear wheels. You can, I mean, this is a car with 517 horsepower and 900 odd Newton meters of torque, and you can do an awful lot of shuffling around with that power and torque. But ultimately, it is a big, heavy SUV. It's 2.6 tons. So when you come to a quick corner like this one and you turn in, you can feel that sense of reluctance to the front end. It just needs to take a beat before it bites. So it's not quite, I mean, Polestar has kind of billed this as a sports car disguised as an SUV. I don't think it's quite in that league, although it is very, very quick, less than 5 seconds to get to 100 kilometers an hour in this performance version. I don't know who's going to be putting their kids and dog in the back of this and trying that out, but I suppose it's nice to know that you can. Personally, I think I'd go for the very slightly slower 490 horsepower version and enjoy the little bit of extra range that brings. But overall, I think this is quite a successful car. You know, you think this has to pitch up against the likes of the BMW iX, the Audi Q8 e-tron, and the Mercedes EQE SUV, and it has some significant advantages over each and every one of those cars. It's got better range, real-world range, than the Audi. It looks so much nicer on the outside than the BMW or the Mercedes, and it's got a very good interior aside from those quality issues that we pointed out earlier. Now, I'm not saying it has the beating of all of those cars, but it's definitely in the mix, and I think in some ways it might be the preference, just because of having that kind of nice crisp exterior style combined with this very, very spacious interior and handling and ride that, if not quite up to the class leading standards of the BMW iX, it's certainly very impressive. Now, it's starting in Ireland at €99,000. That gets you this launch edition version, which comes with all of the toys. Slightly more affordable versions will follow on, and as I said, next year we'll get the single motor longer range version, which will be more affordable still. But in terms of expensive, big, heavy electric SUVs, yeah, this is kind of a nice one. Well, thanks for watching our review of the Polestar 3. Don't forget to head over to CompleteCar.ie for road tests of the entire Polestar range, and indeed every other car and electric car on sale. And if you've enjoyed this video, and why wouldn't you, don't forget to like and subscribe and head over to our YouTube channel. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you again soon.